Hey guys, welcome back to Custom Hearthstone Concepts, where, in case you missed the last video, let me start by saying I am going to be doing yet another video unscripted. I'm going to try and keep this one shorter than the 20 minutes that my last one was, but I overall did receive a lot of good feedback on that video, so I'm going to try one more without a script and see what you guys think. Other than that, I'd also like to state that I am going to be trying a community project with Custom Concepts, where you guys would be able to submit your own cards. That'll be through the Discord server, and if you're interested in that, please wait until the end of the video. That'll be announced later today in the Discord, and I'll have the details available for you guys at the end of this video a little bit before it's officially announced. But at any rate, let's just start by discussing the cards and looking at the concept that we have for today's video. So a long while ago, I released a custom cards video that quickly became my most popular, where I focused on quests outside of Unguro, which was completely fair, and a lot of people thought that I should do hero cards at the time. However, the thing is, Blizzard kind of beat me to the punch, and this year, every expansion they've released has had a new hero card. However, I still want to make some hero cards. I think that's a fun challenge. So what I did was I focused on expansions before Knights of the Frozen Throne specifically, and with that out of the way, let's go ahead and just jump right into this and look at the cards. Ready? Now, just about every single one of these is going to take a little bit of explanation before I get right into it, so please bear with me. But we are going to be starting off with Medivh Portal Master, which is a mage hero card, and it's from Karazhan, is the adventure that it's based off of. And Medivh pushes a summoner archetype that I talked about a little bit in the quests video, if you've watched that. But effectively the idea is that he synergizes with minions created by your spells, and I just want to clarify as much as possible what that means, because there was a lot of confusion on that video and I probably went over it just a bit too quickly. By minions created by spells, that is referring to anything and everything that is created by one of your spells. So, for example, stuff like Unstable Portal and Simulacrum and Frozen Clone that add it to your hand, that add a minion to your hand, those all count as created by a spell. The same goes, however, for stuff like Firelands Portal and Molten Reflections and even Mirror Images. If it, summons something directly, but it's a spell, that also counts as creating a minion. And while it's not a mage card, the same would hold true for, cards in other classes. So like Gang Up shuffles 3 minions into your deck, but it creates copies of them. Those copies, when you draw them, count as being created by a spell. Same thing with the Ambush by Faldorai Strider, or I'm not sure what their version is called, but the one that creates a 4/4 spider would also count as creating a minion from a spell. And, any number of the Paladin, summoning a bunch of Silverhand recruits, you get the idea at this point. It's a pretty simple concept, but, just simply, if it's a spell and it makes a minion in any way, shape, or form, that counts as a minion created by a spell. And when you really sit back and think about it, Mage has a lot of cards in this summoner archetype, and no synergies with it. However, I am planning on making a video dedicated to Summoner Mage very soon here. At any rate, let's go ahead and talk about Medivh in particular. He's 7 mana, he has 5 armor as per usual. His battle cry is cast Unstable Portal 3 times, which, again, for those of you that may have forgotten that card, Unstable Portal is the spell that adds a random minion to your hand, and it costs 3 less than normal, so it just fills up your hand with a bunch of discounted minions at random. And his hero power, Powerful Friends, is passive, and gives all minions that have been created by spells, well, all of your minions at least, +1/+1, so he basically puts a Keleseth effect on every minion that you create off of a spell. Now, I genuinely think that there's too many cards there to really look at all of them separately. However, what I will say is that overall, there is a pretty glaring flaw with this card in being good in a meta, and that is survivability. Every single hero card that we've run into thus far in the actual game has focused on both long-term value and survivability, and that's how they become good, is how good they are at that. And this card, however, simply focuses on both short-term through the battle cry of just giving you 3 minions, and long-term through the passive hero power. However, being 7 mana and having no survivability probably makes it a good bit weaker than a lot of the other hero cards. Additionally, if you are building a deck around, this Summoner Mage archetype, while there are plenty of options for you there, is that any better than just playing a different minion-based deck? Because effectively, you're running a deck with one card to synergize with the entire thing, but, it's kind of the logic of, like, Keleseth when it was first released and when no one was playing it, that you have to actually draw that card in order for it to work. And I see that's the problem with this, in my personal opinion. That being said, on the exact same token as Keleseth, Keleseth was played later on in decks that didn't need 2 drops anyways. So if Mage, had a spot, they do run quite a few spells most of the time that summon minions, and running Medivh wouldn't be the worst choice necessarily. He does still have the 5 armor, the unstable portal value combined with the ongoing hero power. I don't know, it might honestly be a good option sometimes. But in my personal opinion, even if he was released, and even if he did see play, he wouldn't be a meta-defining card. But definitely go ahead and let me know what you think of him. I still think he's a fun design, and I would definitely love to mess around with him. I just don't think that he's as good as some of the other hero cards. Moving on, we have a Whispers of the Old Gods one for Paladin, which will focus on, Murlocs and on how the Old Gods kind of adapted and twisted a lot of the minions and characters that expansion. But above and beyond that, my challenge with this card was to make the absolute cheapest hero card I thought I could get away with. Because again, so many of the hero cards are these high-cost, long-term value, long-term survivability type effects. So I just wanted to make something that was as small as possible, but was still reasonably balanced, and this is what I came up with. In my personal opinion, it is pretty balanced. It's still very good, but it's not as good, and I think it would honestly see play. But let's go ahead and get into it, discuss what it actually is, and move on from there. So Prophet Malach is a 3 mana, 3 armor Paladin hero card. With the battle cry, summon 3 1/1 Murloc Tiny Fins, which are these little tokens from, I believe, League of Explorers, I'm not sure. And its hero power is the 2 mana Whispering Tides, which reads simply Adapt Murloc. So let's go ahead and go over balance. So the average hero power in Hearthstone is a 0 mana effect. For example, mages deal 1 damage, is also comparable to the Druid Moonfire, which deals 1 damage for 0 mana, or on the other hand, comparable to 1 mana effects that deal 2 damage, such as Arcane Shot. The 0 mana comparison holds true across the entire game, and it's actually something that's quite interesting to look into. However, I believe it's also technically true for this hero power, for Whispering Tides. In Paladin, in Ungoro, we were given an Adapt spell that was simply a 1 mana Adapt 1 friendly minion. Comparatively, Whispering Tides is the same effect, but it is far more limited. Instead of just being a minion, it is specific to a Murloc, which I personally feel like could lower the effect to 0 mana, and then from there having it as a 2 mana hero power leaves it on par with the classical Paladin hero power. So effectively, the 3 mana what you're paying for is the battle cry and the armor, and attached to that, what you really have is you have 3/3 of stats across 3 bodies, nothing too big or game-changing, and you have 3 armor, which, in all honesty, I feel like is more than entirely fair, and you're honestly getting a little bit less bang for your buck compared to, something like the Plated Beetle, which is 2 mana and has 2/3 stats and 3 armor, and you are also getting the new hero power, even if it is on par with the current Paladin hero power. Getting into the actual semantics of how this would be played, I absolutely think this would be played, because if you're playing a Murloc heavy Paladin deck, there's literally no reason not to play it. Whispering Tides is a way for an aggro deck, as they start to run out of cards, to kind of stretch their deck a bit thin, because, you know, turn 5, or you can play 3-mana Murloc and adapt it, and then you can just kind of keep with that trend of playing just as few Murlocs as possible and adapting them to make them better. Stealth is one of those options, which is a really, really good one, as is, you know, +3 attack if it's ready to attack for you, or Wind Fury. And overall, I just think that this card is a simple way that a Murloc Paladin deck could get a good bit more value out of their deck without a super late game card, or without being super overpowered. Again, though, I'd love to hear what you guys think about this card. For me, just the idea of a 3-mana hero card is a pretty interesting concept, and yeah, I'd love to hear what you guys think about it. And finally, we have Myrrdin Bronzebeard for the Grand Tournament, and let me quickly explain the lore and the gameplay of this card. So from a lore standpoint, there are 3 Bronzebeards in Warcraft. There's Magni, Myrrdin, and Bran, and Muradin actually went missing before the Northrend campaign, and was then discovered on the continent as we were moving through Northrend, and he had amnesia but was later reunited with his brothers. The Grand Tournament, of course, takes place right after that campaign, and Muradin loves fighting, so it would make perfect sense to plop him right into that expansion as a playable fighter. And from a gameplay perspective, I use Joust as a keyword on the card. That is referring to effects from the Grand Tournament or beyond that are the reveal a minion in each deck, if yours costs more, do something, that type of effect. And for the sake of this card, I'm going to use it as a keyword, and that is important to note that it is interchangeable there, that Joust is interchangeable with reveal a minion in each deck, and we'll get to that later, but it will be important for more than just this video. So moving on to the card itself, Myrrdin Bronzebeard is an 8-mana, 5-armor warrior hero card. He has the battle cry for the rest of your game, your minions cost 3 more during jousts, and he has the hero power Stormhammer, deal 2 damage to a minion, gain 2 armor. So this is a pretty simple hero card. His hero power is reasonably balanced out for the 8-mana hero card, and his battle cry adds a lasting effect throughout the game that just makes it easier to win your jousts, so you can kind of build a deck around it, maybe have it be a bit top heavy, and then by the time that Muradin hits the field, it becomes a lot easier. Something that's interesting to note about that is that it is your minions cost 3 more during jousts in general, meaning that it also kind of counters your opponent playing jousts and it makes them harder for them to win theirs. Overall, I think this card would be an interesting addition if it had come out at that time. And I also just think that it's very fun to have a Joust synergy. That was an effect that didn't really have any sort of synergies when it first came out, and I think it'd be interesting to see something like that that either makes it easier or gets a bonus every time you win a joust, something like that. And that does lead nicely into the end of the video, but really quickly I will just say that overall this card is reasonably balanced. It's got a bit of survivability, it's got long-lasting value, and it's overall probably the most solid of the hero cards in this video. Now, all of that being said, this does connect back to the Discord and Custom Hearthstone theme that I mentioned earlier. The theme for an upcoming video is going to be Joust Warrior, or Reveal a Minion Warrior, and this is my challenge for you. If you join the Discord shortly after this video goes up, I will be uploading and setting up a channel in which you can present custom cards, and it'll have some instructions and rules there. And what I want from you guys is I want cards themed around Joust Warrior or Reveal a Minion Warrior that either A, have that effect, have that reveal a minion in each deck type of effect, or have some sort of synergy with it, so like this where it makes it easier, or maybe it activates some sort of special, and I don't know, I want you guys to get a bit creative with it. And yes, you can of course use Joust as a keyword. So yes, invite links to the Discord will be in the description and in a pinned comment, and there will be full instructions when that goes up. That'll be later today. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Toodles.